26th, and it's 1:05 p.m.
Let's open it up.
All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Friday, April 26th. It is now 1:06 p.m. I am calling to order the meeting for the Orange County IDA Audit Committee. Can I please have a roll call?
Yes, Susan Walski,
Here.
Mark Green,
Here.
Dean Tambury.
Here.
All three committee members are here. For staff, myself, Bill Fioravanti, and Billy Iverson, handling our audio video. We have a few guests. I got a little feedback coming from maybe you, Brian. I'm not sure. Well, you're all muted, so I guess not. All right. We have a few guests with us. We have, first of all, our local labor monitors, Fellenser Engineering. Mark and Matt Fellenser are here. We also have George Thompson from LAN, our other local labor monitor, on board. We have Loki Brill, who used to work with us doing labor monitoring. They're representing Royal Wine. Jim Loki and Kevin Loki are on. We have Slav. You got to give me your last name. Yeah, no way, Slav. Thank you. Thank you so much. Slav representing CS Energy for the West Warwick 123. We have Mr. Paul De Silva here from the Millwrights Union. Thanks for being here, Paul. Mr. Luigi Capiti, the owner of Orange Inn in Goshen, Limoncello restaurant. And I think that's everybody. And Mr. Brian Sandvich, our New York State monitor from Anshin, is also on the line.
Okay, thank you. Everyone will see in their packet that the meeting was properly noticed. And we can move on to the minutes from our March 13th meeting. I'm hoping that everybody has had a chance to review them offline prior to the meeting.
Yes. Yes.
Does anybody have any corrections or additions? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as shown? Motion, Mark.
Second.
Second, Dean. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, guys, we got a lot of business to cover today.
We do, so we'll get right into it. We have a total of 4 waiver requests from 3 of our applicants or local projects at the IDA. We're gonna start with Orange Inn. And again, we do have Mr. Capiti here representing Limoncello and Orange Inn in our county seat, of course, of Goshen. I'm gonna start off, I'm gonna ask Kevin Loki, who was our local labor monitor for that project at the time, to chime in as necessary. It was early on in my time, as I think I was interim director at the time. Kevin, again, for Loki Brill, was monitoring the job. They were basically complying with every single contract, and Kevin called me one day, and there was a carpet contractor there with some out-of-area laborers there, and he asked me if I wanted to shut the site down or what should I have him do, this, that, and the other. And I gotta be honest, I didn't really understand. I wasn't really comfortable with what my options were at that point. So I thought, God, I don't wanna shut this job down. I thought we'd have to do something after the fact. And when Kevin and I next talked, he explained, well, you know, the project would have brought another vendor on if need be. And I said, oh, I didn't realize at that stage we could have done that. So I kinda wanna fall on the sword with this one. And Kevin, I do invite you to chime in with that. You have all the information in the waiver, you have the carpet quote that's in there. Happy if you have any questions for Mr. Capiti, for sure. But they have been, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were completely, was it 100% local outside of that contract? Do you recall?
Yes. Yeah, as every contractor has to meet 85%, I believe every one of them was just about 99% or 100 for every contractor.
Thank you. So I really take a lot of blame for this, because I think they would have found a way to do it and be in compliance on this one subcontract. And I will say Mr. Capiti has been incredible in communicating with me. We've moved this meeting and this hearing for these waivers a few times. He's been willing to be here every single time. And been completely transparent and, forthright with that. Again, this is one that I just take a little, ignorance in the beginning, but I'm, want to see what the committee thinks, frankly.
All right, well, I'd like to open up the floor to discussion to the committee members.
I guess, have you learned from your mistakes?
Yes, I have, I have, absolutely.
And, going forward,
I've learned a lot over the last...
It wasn't a binary decision.
No, exactly. I learned over the last 2 years a lot, including all the projects that are also here. We're learning every day. We're trying to be better and better with this, and
all right.
that was
so, you know, that's all we can do with that front. As far as the rest goes, I mean, if they're 99 to 100% compliant on everything else, I don't see where this is going to be. This doesn't seem like it was an egregious mistake that was done to try and skirt, and I can't imagine. I mean, this is just local, we don't have a carpet union, do we? This is just
No,
local
we
labor.
don't, no, but obviously there are vendors in the area, so
Absolutely,
if they would find a
absolutely.
price within the 20% cost differential that we allow, then
Absolutely.
It could have, should have.
But this is 2 years ago now?
yeah.
I think it's time to move on,
Okay.
my opinion.
Dean, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for the, size of this contract comparatively to the whole scope of it, it's, I think it's a small enough amount that with the labor that was involved with it, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
So, again, we're all learning and moving on, so.
It's a learning curve, and also, I mean, from a interior design perspective, I do know that G. Fried has a much larger, high-quality selection that you probably would have found locally.
More than you would have looked.
Yeah. So can I have a motion to approve this waiver?
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a
I'll
second?
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Capiti, thanks for being here, thanks for
Thank you.
being so open through this process.
Thank you for making it easy for me.
For sure, we would, something we talked
Come
about.
over, please.
Yeah, we'd love to have, the you know, something for the board to, I
Upstairs.
don't know if we can patronize, but we'd love to come see the project for sure.
Thank you.
All right, we'll arrange that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it, sir, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, up next, we have Warwick West, 1, 2, and 3, Convergent Energy. They are looking for a waiver regarding fencing. It's my understanding and discussion that the fencing was installed without a monitor having the opportunity to see it and evaluate it.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, George Thompson from Land is on this as our monitor. George, is that basically what the scenario was? By the time we closed the project, we named Land to be the monitor, and you were able to go out for your first site visit. Was it one of the 3 battery storage projects where there was a fence already installed?
There was 2 of the 3 projects already fencing had been completed, and CS Energy already had given the contracts out to them, and it was already awarded prior to Land coming on board.
And the other thing I'm not trying to air too much dirty laundry, but somewhat unrelated, but we did have a challenge with this applicant when it was time for our Paris reporting and our audit, where we had a really difficult time getting their information that was relevant for the report. You may recall last year, we revised our fee schedule to implement a late reporting fee charge. So after February 24th, we could charge them the $2,500. I will say that the attorney that handled the transaction for this project from Hudson Russ, he was great to work with. I escalated it to him. He ended up making sure they gave us the information. So that's something that's in our back pocket. But the fact that we weren't given the opportunity to do this locally here, they also were very compliant on the other contracts once the Land was given the opportunity to monitor. But I think there was an opportunity for some sort of punitive action, I think, to a degree here.
So, it's a fine line. We only did receive one other quote, so really as a board, I don't think we can even review, did they do their best to try and shop for rates? I agree with you, it's the past, so we do need to clean this up. However, there should be punitive damages involved with this, and I am recommending a $2,500 fee to be assessed against the project. And I'd like some feedback from the board members, please.
Well, it doesn't, so I mean, they obviously didn't follow, they have one other quote, right? That's not enough to search for contractors in the area. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, they did also receive a waiver regarding some other equipment at one time, is that correct? Some air conditioning equipment?
I don't recall. Do you recall, George?
Yeah, we did give
Yeah,
them
we
a
did.
waiver.
No?
We did give them a waiver now for some mechanical equipment,
Okay.
it was sole source only, that's correct.
And it was a specialty item or whatever, however, in my mind, again, learning moving forward, I like to have had more detail on that as well. Looking back at it, as I see some of the other waivers coming in, but it is what it is, and, I'm fine with some sort of penalty for this non-compliance. I don't think we should just not do anything, but, I'm fine with the $2,500. Thank you.
Okay, Mark?
Well, I don't agree with going back and saying, well, we did another waiver. Like, to me, these are independent
Okay.
situations. So I don't wanna bring that into it, but it does irk me that, I mean, come on, there's a lot of opportunity here that, to go out and get more than one. And just, it seemed like it was a very quick decision and we're just gonna do what we wanna do. And so I am a little irked by that, so.
So I agree with you 100% that each one's on their own basis. However, in this instance, I bring it up because they knew the process, right? You knew the process because you've done it already. And if it was an issue, you should have brought it forward, and you didn't bring it forward. So it wasn't like they weren't used, that's why I brought it up. So that's the only reason. I agree with you 100%. Each one's individually. It's not because, you know, I'm sure they should have had the waiver for that equipment, et cetera. I can't answer all those questions back, and I'm not going back. I don't want to look going back. However, they knew the process. That's all. Thank you.
For sure.
So I am on board with your recommendation.
Okay, so can I have a motion to accept the waiver with a $2,500 penalty for not presenting this prior to the installation of the fence?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries.
Terrific. George, thanks for joining us. Slav, thanks for joining us as well. You have any questions, Slav? You give me a call back. Go ahead.
Sure, I'll call and.
Okay.
And clear. That works.
Give me 2 hours and I'll be clear, okay? Anytime. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, George. George, I'll see you at the castle on Monday. Thanks.
Thanks, George.
Thank
Yeah, see, Monday.
What is the process? So you'll send them some sort of invoice type thing, or we have something like that?
We haven't done it since I've been here, so
Okay.
I already reached out to the attorney about exactly how we should do this, and
You created an invoice, that's
Yeah.
all.
just wanna make sure we do everything properly there, so.
Okay, so next we have two waivers, so we'll look at each one independently of each other. For
Yes.
The Royal Wine Project. The first waiver, if I'm looking at here, is the installation of a storage racking system utilizing pallet molds. The pallet molds and the rails on which they operate require specialized construction for which a local contractor is not available. This is what they're claiming. Further, Fraser does not further provide a warranty for installation of such specialized equipment unless installation is performed by a Fraser-trained and certified installer. Racking alignment is critical to the success of the operation as Fraser requires the racking to be installed pursuant to FEM 9.831-1 tolerances. These methods and procedures are used to achieve these FEM tolerances are unique to Fraser-trained installation teams. Local labor would not possess the skills or experience needed to achieve the required alignment for the pallet mold rack system to operate properly. Okay, so I'm gonna open this up for discussion, because I do know there is a lot of discussion. I believe we have consultants here who are also looking to give input on this.
Yeah, our monitors for this project are the Fellensers, Matt and Mark, and again, Loki Brill is representing the applicant, the project in this case. I don't know really who wants to go first. You wanna let them say anything?
Yeah, I think Loki should.
Kevin, Jim, is there anything you guys wanna start with to get this dialogue going?
So just to kind of open it up, Will Duffy is also here from Royal Wine.
Hi, Will, sorry, I didn't introduce you, I did see you pop on.
And I mean, we've been going back and forth on this waiver for several months. And, you know, we've even gotten the local mill writers involved in the discussion. to try to figure out if there are union shops, union members that can perform this work. Those discussions still ended up with where we're at right now, asking for the waiver. So, you know, I just want to make sure everyone understands this was not a, you know, just send it in. There's been a lot of process and thought and involvement into trying to find a way to do local first before they ask for the waiver.
Can we ask questions as we go?
Sure, of course, absolutely.
Sir, I'm sorry, I can't see your name. I
That's
apologize.
Jim.
Jim, so you say that you have been in discussion, this has been going on for months. And what, you know, and we're back to where we are, we're still back to where we are right now. So my question is, can you, why? Like who, is it, we can't meet in the middle? Is it that, you know, there is a satisfaction, like there's a concern about guaranteed work? Like why are we here if this has been going on for months?
Well, like I said, we've been going back and forth for trying to find a way to get local people involved.
Okay, then let me stop you.
So, you know, keep in mind, this is a design-build product that's built from Fraser. So it's their product, it's their design, it's their warranty, it's their installation. It's designed specifically for Royal Wine. It's not an off-the-shelf component. They have to warrant it when it's done. So we were looking at any alternate way that we could involve local people to do the work, including, that's why I said we involved the Millwrights Union to see if there were aspects that they could perform to, you know, at least have some element of local involved in it instead of just asking for, you know, a blanket waiver across the board. But that didn't end up working out. They couldn't make an agreement with the Millwriters and Fraser that allow them to work. So that's why I said we've been trying to find a way to get local people involved in it any way we can instead of just asking for straight waiver.
Right, so you're saying that Fraser themselves had communications with the millwork?
Correct.
Okay.
And I just want to state and clarify one thing as well, in that this only represents a small portion of our racking on site. There is double reach and selective racking that is going with local labor. That install will be done using local labor sources. It's just this specialty racking, the mole racking system that we're requesting waiver on.
Thank you.
And I think, you know, more so than cost, the biggest issue from the Royal Wine standpoint is the lack of Fraser's ability to warranty the work should this work be required to be done locally. It's a lot of money they're putting into this system, and for us to move forward with that without a warranty on it is really not an option for us.
So if I can jump in here now, because of an older project, I became familiar with the Millwrights Union. They're part of the Carpenters Union. Their skill and expertise is incredible. They built the CPV Valley Energy Center, a number of other, you know, obviously, highly involved projects when it comes to that. So I was aware of them because of something else, kind of developed a relationship, and when this came up, I thought perfect opportunity for, you know, a group like that to come in as a local option. So I did make that introduction. I was copied on most of the communications back and forth. Because if anyone could do it, they can certainly do it. And if there's a way to get them certified so that Fraser, you know, then that's okay. They did have discussions back and forth. It was mostly came down to the labor rates. And I think, and I want to speak for Paul, you know, I asked Paul to chime in here. You know, his rates, all in, benefits, et cetera, for his workers, somewhere around $90 an hour. And we're seeing that the crew that Fraser is looking to use is very, you know, lower than our minimum wage in New York State, you know, some of what they are paid. They went back and forth, representative for Fraser and Paul did. And Paul was trying to get closer, I will say, and integrating apprentices on the job, this, that, and the other. We did talk about the opportunity for maybe some millwrights to be on the job, but the rest of the crew being other, and even the millwrights weren't sure if that was going to work for them. I will say the one time I got uncomfortable was Paul was trying to get his number lower, and then at one point the rep for Fraser said, oh, we actually have used an even lower rate than we told you that we had negotiated with Royal. And I called Royal Wine right away, and I did say, look, this is the one time this sounds, because they've been terrific, I feel, in my opinion, trying to honor this, trying to make it all work, due diligence, working with Fellinzer on any waiver to be considered. I didn't like the way that that sounded. I told that to them. They said that the same thing. They went back to Fraser, and that they tried to provide the backup that showed that this is really what the numbers were. So that was one piece that happened, and there's a huge cost differential. But there's still a question of, is there a way that they could use that? So I guess that's my take. I did want to ask the Fellinzers to chime in on this one here, and I'll just obviously stick with Pallet Mall.
Sure.
After all you heard, all the back and forth, them
Yeah.
trying, what I'm saying, what's your take on it?
Well, I think there's one other question I just wanted a clarification on from Loki Brill. So Jim, at the end of your second paragraph, you talk about it being a design-build system where Fraser owns, designs the racking, and guarantees performance. Not sure what you mean by owns. Is this some type of, and maybe Will, you can answer, is this some type of, where they have some type of lease with you, or ownership of the racking? I'm not sure quite what owns means in that letter.
Let me clarify, Matt, what I'm saying is they own they own the whole scope. They own the design, the construction, the installation.
Gotcha. So it's a design build. It's not really ownership.
Yes, it is a design build, yeah. It's
Okay.
a design build, and the warranty and everything is associated with the design build.
Okay. So, you know, our, in terms of the request and all, you know, I think there's two items. One is obviously the warranty from Fraser and the known entity doing the installation, their own work crews. And I think the secondary piece is the actual costs of their crews. So I think that's really what you have. You've obviously talked about the costs involved. I don't know that they've been specifically quantified, other we have been provided wage rates, so we do see the crew costs or whatever. You know, and I think the second is obviously the concern on warranty. You know, obviously we have full understanding, support of our local trades and their abilities to produce quality equipment and installations. But, you know, on unique things where training is involved, you know, we did try to reach out to find out if there's specific factory training available or not. We weren't unable to get that exact answer, but that would have been the only other outreach. I don't know, Loki, were you able to do, or Jim, were you able to do any outreach to Fraser on training, you know, factory training, factory certification? Was any discussion of that with any of the local labor, in this case, the millwrights?
I'd have to go back and look at our notes. I want to say that the question did come up, but I honestly can't tell you where that conversation went.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, those would be our only points. That's all.
So my question is does Fraser realize that they would have to pay New York State minimum wage standards for this project? Because the pay rates that they enclose for us are below New York State, so.
We did verify that you can't do that. You have to pay at least minimum wage for the state where the work is being done.
Yeah, that's still higher than that, I think. That's close.
Are we asking
Yeah, I'm asking,
Royal Line essentially via?
has that been verified that they will have to pay New York State wages?
Yes, that has been verified.
Okay, because the numbers that were presented to us are below New York State wage.
Yeah, we're seeing, as of January, and I don't know when this was all put together, but as of January of this year, New York State minimum wage is $15 in our region. And you have some rates on there, $13 an hour, $14 an hour in that rate table.
Yeah, okay, so I believe that's, I believe that's only some of the workers, right?
Two.
Yes, correct. Just two.
Yeah, let me dig into that a little more and get you guys a better answer, but that has been verified and is factored into this analysis.
Okay. Mark, do you have any questions for any of the consultants?
No, that was really my question, because the ownership, other Mark, sorry.
Quite all right. I prefer you talk anyway. No, I think I asked my questions. So, I guess I just keep kind of harping on the certification part. So, was it we're not gonna, like, how come, so, how do I say this? Are our local unions certified to work on this project? You know what I mean, like, yes or no? You know, like, is this part of why we've been waiting a couple of months, Jim?
Yeah, I don't believe the local unions are certified to work on Fraser equipment, but I also do want to point out the workers that will be working on it are Fraser employees. It's not a subcontractor that they're bringing in.
Oh, so these are their actual people?
Yes, they're Fraser trained and certified installers. So my understanding is it's their employees who will be doing the installation.
It's a crew, they say that they, of course, they travel, they put them up, and then they go back home for several weeks, and they're brought out for the next job.
I'm not sure we have a copy, and it's Millennium Materials Handling,
So it's, maybe it's a
From-
sub-company, subcontract.
Yeah.
Subcontract.
Georgia, so,
Fraser
now,
was from somewhere else.
and Fraser's from Texas, well, they're from all over.
There's a few.
But yeah. So I'm not sure, I guess the applicant would have to tell us what that is, but that's what's attached to the packet here.
Okay.
It's a subcontractor trained directly by Fraser, so they're a Fraser trained sub.
Gotcha.
And does Fraser supervise these subcontractors? Do they have somebody on site supervising them?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Can I ask if Paul wants to add anything? Do you mind? I just, he bothered to
well,
come,
I
he
was
put a
gonna
lot
let-
of time, sorry, I apologize. I just don't want him to be left out.
No, and that's
He put a lot of
okay.
time into this as well.
I wanted to see
Sorry.
if Dean had, any input.
Yeah, I absolutely do have input. I mean, because if we're looking at this and we say they're a nationwide company, which is fine, I mean, if they're working on several projects at once, they get a call and there's several projects going on. I mean, how do you tell me that all these guys are certified into a specific amount? Where do they go? Where are they trained? How long is the training? I'm looking at some of the local guys in their training, and I have a full page, or actually 2 pages full of certifications that they receive to install very complex equipment, and we have all the information here. So what would it take that anybody say, hey, you know, is it a day class, is it 2 days, are they willing to train some of the local people? I mean, because obviously if they have them, they would have to train people as they get busier across the, I'm sure they don't have exactly one size crew. I mean, and again, we're comparing wages, we go back and forth with wages, and then the wage drops less than half of what it was. And you're telling me that we have highly skilled workers at below minimum wage, where you could be a security guard and make $5 an hour more than that in this area. I can't say that we've done all of our homework when trying to get local people on this project. I mean, when we've built these complex systems of sorting throughout a lot of these warehouses, and the idea of the IDA is to build a workforce for the future. And we want to partner with good companies, and we consider Royal Line one of them. We want to work with them to build in the future, so when other companies come in, we have that specific skill. But that conversation to me has never happened between Fraser and some of the local people that have installed all this equipment. And we know that this rate, even this blended rate that you had given, cannot be correct because it doesn't even meet, standard wages. I can't believe that everyone on the crew, I mean, you have bolting up, you have people carrying, you have people on dismantling. I just, I don't have enough information, for that.
So the average, just, let's start on the wage rate. The average wage rate is above $20, right? If you take all of the different rates and grade the average, which is above New York State law, or New York State minimum wage rather. And then further on that point, all of these folks are well above minimum wage for the states that they're coming from, right? So that's the wage factor. I think with regards to the training that you're speaking on, I think, you know, the issue we have is obviously we're on a tight schedule with this project, right? So, well, in an ideal world, you know, we have all the time in the world to, you know, wait for the local folks to get trained up to where Fraser would be comfortable with, you know, issuing a warranty on this specialty system, even with local labor installing. I don't think we're at liberty from a timing standpoint to wait that long.
So my question to that would be, when did Royal Wines, or when did we know Fraser was gonna do this? And we say there's a time constraint, it's been a few months that we've been discussing this, but I'm sure that you knew when you built this building that it would be able to accept, or it would be sized enough where the Fraser component would fit into it. And at that point, if we had these conversations, I think it would have been an advantage to everyone. And on the other thing regarding on how long it will take them to get certified, we're talking about, we don't know. We don't know that. I mean, certifications come in so many different forms and whatever. Is it a 10-hour class? Is it a 1-hour class? Is it a week class? Is it, you know, and I'm sure there's people who are leading the crews, and I'm sure there's other people, whether that's just drilling, et cetera. And then the next thing for the wages, you said the average is above. Well, you really don't go by averages, right? We go by each individual on their pay. And to have, if you're telling me you have these highly skilled people at what, again, I'm just gonna repeat myself, I apologize, at minimum wage, when you could work just about anywhere for less. And we're looking to build a workforce. We wanna work together to build a workforce. And I don't think we're achieving it by doing this.
Well, I just to reiterate on one point I made earlier, I just want to quickly weigh in that, you know, there is a large portion of our racking scope where local labor is being involved. It's really just this specialty high density mold system that is designed, built by Fraser, that's really specialty to Fraser that we're requesting this waiver. And I think, you know, members of the board would certainly agree that we've made exhaustive efforts across the board on this project to promote and use local labor everywhere we possibly can. And it's few and far between when we do come, you know, hat in hand looking for an exemption. This being one of those case scenarios, and largely in part because due to this, you know, the cost of this particular item, we really do require a warranty on it, just from a sanctity of mind standpoint.
So I will tell you why. I saw the numbers, and it scares me how much these items cost. And I give you guys a lot of credit. It's a lot of risk in your business or whatever, and I appreciate you coming to Orange County. But I still don't have, so let's just go back, I guess. When did we know this was Fraser product was going to be used? Was it a month ago? Was it a year ago? Was it, you know, so when was that? How long, and what does the training, you know, what is that? I mean, these are things that I just don't have the answers to, and
Yeah, I will tell you that I think we have known about the pallet mold for a good 3 months. We've been working on it. I've been working, you know, kind of involved in that. Introduced Paul 2 months ago at least, you know.
Yeah, I see
But
emails going back to January.
frankly, that's why I asked the question, Dean. If this has been going on, then how come no one is, I asked specifically why training hasn't been done. So, and no one's answering that. So, I mean, and I'm trying to hear what you're saying, Dean, but are you implying that it's up to the company that it's their responsibility for the greater good to train our people?
I don't know. I don't. No. I don't. Well, let's put it this way. I'm gonna put it this way, Mark. If they had several projects going on and they need additional workers in another area, would they or would they not train? And if the training was, if we knew what the training was, then maybe the local people would take their time to take the training.
And I
at no
asked that
cost.
question, and for 3 months this has been going on, I asked that specific question. No one's answering it. Answer the question, please, sir.
So we have conveyor and racking training, but the problem is that this is a proprietary to Fraser. So Fraser would have to get involved with that, and we haven't come to that
But
yet.
you've been talking to Fraser the last 3 months, according to Jim.
Yes.
But we don't know what the training
We
is.
have conveyor certifications and racking training down at our apprentice training center. We could have hosted a training there if Fraser was, but they renegotiated several times. And I understand this is a very complex system, and not to undermine their system, but when it comes down to it, it's all nuts and bolts. And we do this kind of work day in and day out on many dozens of projects in the Hudson Valley. It's nothing
And you
super
can
special.
guarantee it.
Yeah, I provided pictures.
No,
And-
I'm saying you would guarantee their however many millions of dollars this is.
No.
$8 million investment.
The workers don't guarantee.
The union
Well,
can't.
Fraser does.
No,
And so
Fraser-
you're asking this company to say, well, I'm gonna go into this without a guarantee?
No. You're asking, does Fraser's installing this? You're asking the workers that are there, whether they're Fraser employees or local employees, you're saying that the workers are gonna guarantee the work?
No, I'm
It's
saying
the
somebody has to guarantee
Correct.
this
The-
work.
the
So if you're
supervisor-
saying you're gonna bypass that Fraser is going to guarantee this, then you have to guarantee it.
No, he said that, I believe, I'm gonna put words in his mouth, but he said that he would host the training at his facility for his people to get certified to install this equipment.
And in the very commonplace, let's use CPV for example. You're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of turbines and high precision stuff to build a power plant. Those companies have designated company personnel on site to observe the work and then to be, whether it's QA or QC, to sign off on the work. You can't tell me that each worker is gonna guarantee that work whether they're trained or not, because there's stuff
You
that,
guys are you're not listening to what I'm saying. If they're spending $8 million, and somebody's guaranteeing that stuff's gonna be ready to work for the next 3-5 years, what is it, sir?
More than that.
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah,
So 10 years, it's guaranteed. Fraser says if I send my guys, you get a 10-year guarantee.
His,
If-
like I said, his trained guys in his training.
I
We don't
understand.
know if the training is 2 hours or a month.
And
But
again,
that's
my
a good
question
point.
is, this has been going on for months, why can't you answer me the question? Why haven't you been, like, what is the training for this?
He doesn't
it's
know.
their
It's
training.
their training.
The company trains their
Yeah, but you've
personnel.
been talking to them for months.
I have. It's mostly about wages. This is a new,
You're right, exactly, that's what I was thinking too.
this is a new
The-
kind of argument.
Skill never came into it until the new
Why?
wage package came up.
Why not?
I don't know. That's
Well,
what
if
I'm
this is
saying.
such a big deal for you, Dean, that this is about training our local people, I would
I-
think that
you
that would
don't-
be at the
you don't-
forefront.
You don't think it's a big deal for you as well, Mark?
Right
You're
now,
saying it's a big deal for Dean, I think it's a big deal for the county.
yeah, but you are making you are saying that this is such a big deal, and if you've been talking for months, why hasn't this come up? Because now
No.
these people have
But
been
Mark,
waiting
Mark,
months to
Mark,
get this done.
Mark, it's not for Dean, I'm a board member here. I don't have, it's not my, to.
Dean, you're the
these-
one that said,
Go ahead, I know
this
what I
is
said.
important, that our people need to be trained.
100%.
Then if it's such,
And-
such an importance, how come it hasn't been broached for the last several months?
I don't know.
All right, guys, I think we need
I mean,
to,
it's in our policy to say that we'll work together to have a skilled skilled people to do this for for future work going forward. That's what it says.
I think it's a chicken and egg thing. I think they're waiting to get the work, and then they'll get trained for it, but I think you're kinda saying, be trained, and then that makes it a
Yeah,
moot
but
point about.
you don't know, if I told you to be trained to drive a truck, but you don't know what the training is, you have to go somewhere and get trained. Whether you pay for it or the company pays for it, they can talk about
I
that.
understand that, but my frustration in this is that this has been going on for months. There's a business that's waiting on this to move
A
forward.
business is waiting. A business that's
Not on our
waiting.
cord, not on our
Yeah,
cord.
that's what I'm saying, I mean, a business that's waiting to install equipment, right, that has, tax incentives, which I voted for, I'm for, who should be following all of this and doing their best to get local people on the job. That's what, right, so you're looking at Paul as opposed to the company and saying, do every due diligence you can, correct me if I'm wrong, do every due diligence you can to get people on the job. And now you're saying to him why they don't train. It's not like I could go purchase a book and train it.
You're not listening.
Yes, I am.
No.
I don't think
I
you're
am
listening.
saying due diligence is, it sounds like if they've been waiting months,
For who? Who are they waiting for?
why are we here?
To move forward with
But what I'm
Fraser.
saying is, it's like, then train them, either train them or say they can't, or we could take,
Is it me? What
Yeah,
aren't
yeah.
you, what aren't you understanding?
Okay.
We are, this company, sir, have you been able to move forward in the last 3 months on this project?
are you ready to
Yeah.
install it, I guess? Is it ready to be installed today?
Yeah, our slabs are poured, our racking is actually showing up, within the next 2 weeks.
Okay,
And I did
Okay.
ask them to, I'm sorry, Will, I will say that, once the mill rates were brought in, I saw
So-
the conversations were going back and forth. I asked Royal, I know you're trying to do this in April, this is a month and a half ago, so can you move this back, and they did, so they delayed
So-
this already, I just
so,
wanted to
so
be clear about that.
answer this question then, Mark or whoever. When did you know, was it 3 months ago that you were gonna use Fraser? Or was it how long ago, and then we could have resolved this with some sort of local training?
I think didn't Jim say that this has been going on for months, that's why we're here?
No, but I'm asking another question.
Guys, I think just, this has been going on for months, but training or no training doesn't resolve the problem that the mill writers
Why?
are $70 to $80 an hour, and the guys that Fraser bid this project with are $28 an hour.
But again, with wages that are
No amount
below,
of training is gonna bridge that gap, so who's gonna pay the difference in the labor
But-
to have future, hire local
but
people?
they can't be using these wages, they're below state
$28
standards.
an hour is not a.
No, that's
$28 an hour is
combined, that's
No,
combined.
it's not combined, that's the average of each person that's working there.
Sir, you
I don't
want
see
to-
where you're getting the $13 an hour from.
It's-
You're talking about
it's in the
essentially
paperwork.
carpenter's wage.
It's in the paperwork.
All right, gentlemen, we seem to
Hold
be.
hold on one second, hold on one second.
Go ahead.
You've been very patient,
So
please.
myself had a Zoom call with some people from Fraser and some people from Kadim Royal Wine. I'm not sure the date, it was probably about 2 months ago. And the original wage that they quoted me was that their Fraser employees were getting paid $68 an hour. I got my wage to $72 per hour, which is well within the 20%. I believe $68 per hour plus 20% is like $84 an hour. I was way underneath within the 20% wage, which I believe is in Orange County at the 20% wage variance. And then several weeks went by and I got another email back saying that they renegotiated their wages and they were much lower, some substandard to minimum New York State wage. And then I believe on that Zoom call, I did say, I ran my apprentice training facility for 5 years. I said we could host training send down a couple of Fraser employees. We could all sit at the table, we could, select some guys to get trained that have done this work. I could show them that they have thousands of man hours working for racking companies, working for conveyor companies, anything on rails that is similar to this work that they're doing. And that just never happened. It kind of became a mute issue at that point. And once they quoted me those lower rates, I actually, to be quite honest, I never even responded to the email because I was so taken back by how do you go from $68 an hour to what the people are making out.
We aren't happy with how that went
I mean,
either, and we don't want to defend it by any means, but my understanding from Fraser is that they had all of their overhead baked into those rates, including travel time, food allowance, etc. So that wasn't strict labor rates. The information you see in front of you in the packet now is strict labor rates.
But
And
they
it was,
would,
I'm sorry, I
I
want
was
to
gonna say,
clarify. something.
but they wouldn't even have to pay all of that if they used local people.
Right. So their rate, their actual true rate, once they have to pay room and board and per diem and travel, is probably the actual $68 an hour.
That's,
So- And now you're this specialized system, and you could go to McDonald's and make the same wage.
I don't wanna belabor the point, I think the largest reason we're here, is due to the lack of, the ability of Fraser to provide us with a warranty for this massive amount of work that we're putting in place, and a massive cost to the project, unless it's their folks that are trained, installing it, right? That's really why we're here hat in hand, and I wanna be clear that, you know, we have done exhaustive efforts on this project across the board and have hired tens of millions of dollars of contracts with local labor. We're tracking it daily, we're at 94% local compliance in all of the IDA contracts we've signed to date. We've been, you know, forthright and clear in all of our communication to the IDA, to the board, to Bill and his team, the Fellingers, and I think all of them would tell you that, you know, we've done everything we can on this project to bring in local labor wherever possible. Unfortunately, with this particular small portion of the racking scope, we aren't able to get a warranty with local labor, based on the, you know, 3 months of effort that this whole team has gone through with the Fraser folks. And again, the other portions of the racking work, we have local labor doing the install on. So again, I wanna be clear on that point.
Madam Chairwoman, I know you wanna wrap this up. Can I ask?
It's this high density design build specific system that we're asking for.
I think we're just going round in circles
We are,
here.
I just wonder if we could end with our local labor monitors to.
That's where I was gonna go.
Okay, like, is there anything that you've asked them to do or answer that they have not answered through this process? I know you have some new questions based upon what we talked about today, though it is a little late in the process, it's the day of the hearing, but I do wanna know, to this date, have they complied with you, have they done everything you've asked them to do, answer everything?
Yeah,
Can you
look
speak
at,
to that?
Royal has been, you know, provided information that's been asked today, obviously a little bit different. I had thought at one point there was this ownership issue, which I thought added another different wrinkle to it if
Right.
it was. You know, I'm a believer obviously in training and all, so, you know, that is I think a valid discussion overall, not necessarily just on this, but, you know, in terms of training of manpower and what it really takes and what it is, you know. The warranty is obviously, you know, an important item for everyone, so I think those are the items that are on the table, you know. You know, the dollar figure is yet a separate, another discussion on how you get that and how the union works with it. And actually, I think your points are good about, you know, travel, hotel, you know, all the other rates that are comparable to being not local versus local. They're all good points. So what is the real cost? Obviously, when
What's their
people
bill
bid
again?
things, they, you know, if you're paying all that, that's a part of your bid price versus if you're not paying it. So, look, I think
Unfortunately, it
that-
raises more questions for us.
I know, you know,
because
they're
we are
all
trying to
very
figure
good
out how to
questions.
master this.
You know, I can tell you that to directly answer your question, yes, they've provided, you know, information and feedback, and done a pretty good job with that. You know, some of the stuff, you know, we have more recently, so it's questions that come up. So I think everything's on the table, you know, there's information both ways. I think when you go specifically to your requirements, so when things get complex, you go back to the simple rules. Simple rules are, from a dollar standpoint, you price it, you're required to put forth a good effort. If non-local is significantly or somewhat less money, you're required to work with local, doesn't have to be local unions, local whoever, local labor, quote, to try to get that price down within the 20% difference that's there. So, there's a question other than we see the dollar rates. So I think this one's two things. One, you have to decide if the only one that can do the work is someone that Fraser says can do the work because of a warranty, and the only ones that have that are this crew that travels for them. Your point is kind of moot no matter what it is in terms of, other people doing it, right? If Fraser has not said, yes, we can train you, and in a week at our factory or us up at your training facility, you can become certified Fraser installers,
And the total prices.
And then if they haven't said that, and then step two, get to the price discussion, those two things have to occur.
Yeah,
The price
the
discussion,
together.
I don't know that it's really occurred, other than what one crew's traveling direct hourly costs are provided through Fraser, but unfortunately, I don't think the other question's been answered as well, and the third one was answered today. It's not an ownership issue, it's a training issue. So, unfortunately, the training, I guess, from your standpoint, Paul, or from is that Fraser hasn't offered a method to provide that training. I mean, they hold all the cards. If they're the guys that do the training, somewhere, wherever it is, and I'm not gonna say if they offered to, maybe Will Duffy can answer it, or Jim can answer, have they offered to allow people to be trained somewhere? I'm not saying on their dime, I'm just saying trained somewhere. I mean, that's one of the questions that's being asked, right?
They haven't, it's, the conversation never even got that far, but ultimately, I believe that if somebody of a supervisory position, even with the Fraser employees, is gonna have to sign off on that work. Once they inspect the work and see that it was done to their standards, whatever their standards are, which I haven't seen. FME2, I just heard something today about that number, but somebody's gonna sign off on that, whether it's Fraser employees or local people that do this kind of work every single day. So somebody ultimately of a QC or a QA is gonna sign off on that work and say this is acceptable. It's not the actual guys with the wrenches in their hands. It's somebody that's gonna sign off on that to make that warranty valid.
My last word is that.
We've been explicitly told that, unless it's their installers, they won't warranty it at this point in time, given the lack of training, and, I'm not sure if they explicitly offered to provide training, but I do think, to the point that was made earlier, it's really, that's something that probably should have come up, months ago when we initially started these conversations. Because right now we're at a point, to Bill's point from earlier, we've already pushed this work off a month. We're ready to start this install, as soon as we're able to get through this conversation. So we're up against the clock here.
I don't think that the slabs were ready a month ago from my conversations on site.
Yeah, I don't.
So Sullivan Concrete has done an excellent job, a great local company to work with, and they have you can walk the site today if you'd like. The slabs are poured on column lines 1 through 17, and they're working to get Ashford down right now, and then we're quickly bringing out our racking folks to start their work right behind Sullivan. So
I was on site at least 3 weeks ago. The concrete was completed in the pad area there, so.
So my last thoughts are that even though we don't like the fact that it's been several months, I think also that you knew that, or somebody knew that Fraser was gonna do this a lot prior to several months ago, that we could have straightened this out if we'd known that. We didn't know that. We still don't know if the training, how long the training is, where is it available. I would like it to be available to the local people if it's even possible. Because I think the local people should be on the project. I think also Royal Wines has been very good and upfront with all of that. However, this item, I don't think was brought soon enough, 3 months to figure this out. I don't think it was, especially with considering that the wage differential. You know, going from whatever the rate was to half. And I understand it, but we haven't taken out into consideration that there are local people who are gonna be living here, and we're looking to build a workforce here. Well, also the racking that you had said is gonna be a local workforce. I know several people that reached out to them to help install, and he said he wouldn't be using he said he would find people off the street if he had to, and I'm not comfortable with that as well. I don't know how that happens, but that was his comment, so.
And that's Bob's Commercial?
That was his comment, but I don't, so,
It's not a great comment.
no, so we're trying to build a skilled workforce. Not crazy about some of the comments, I'm not crazy about the rate and the fact that it only has been several months. That we should have been talking about this when we knew Fraser was so complex, and at that point, we could have done it. I don't like that we come in the last minute, because I don't wanna hold your project up by any means. I don't wanna hold it up, but you only give us, you know, you have months to take care of this when we knew, I'm sure we knew 6-8 months ago that we were going with a Fraser product. And again, we still don't know what the training is for this thing.
I think if nothing else, you know, at least we've identified, you know, a gap in the training for the union in this area, right? And I think I would encourage you guys to certainly reach out to Fraser and get trained on this particular item. I just, unfortunately, with where we are in this project right now and our tight schedule, you know, the reason we're here for this waiver is because I don't think that it works with our timeline to have the training for this project done in time so that we can install in time and get, you know, the Royal Wine team moved in time. That's why we're here hat in hand on this particular issue. And again, it's been very few and far between the issues we've brought to this table, so.
I agree with that, but Will, I mean, you're saying that the local people should be contacting them. I think it's the other way around. I think they should be looking for local people and to train local people. I mean, I think they could have done that, and I don't think they made an effort to do that, and I also don't agree with the fact that you said there's a gap in skilled workers. I don't agree with that at all.
Not skilled workers, I did not mean that by any means, I just meant in the training, that's all I meant by that comment.
Okay, I think we've kind of beat this up as much as we can.
And I just looked, I'm sorry, last thing is, we first had an on-site meeting in the trailer on-site about this issue on January 24th, so it's
Okay.
on ancient history,
Okay,
you know, but
So,
it's.
but then Bill, did we do our due diligence and bring
I called
everybody
Paul, I
together
got
and-
Paul involved like 2 weeks after that, or maybe
Yes.
less than that, I think.
and we've run into the situation before when we were doing the Walgreens warehouse.
Correct.
Where specialty products were not gonna be warranted unless their particular workers worked on it. I think this is a great opportunity for the unions to take note of who these companies are, and you can reach out too after this and say, hey, if you're gonna be doing projects in this area, what can we do to get your certification so our guys can be on the site?
But again, if you don't know what product they're using at the time, and the other item with the difference, I think, was with the Walgreens, was that it was drugs that they were doing, and they had something to do with drugs, and the fact that you handling drugs and drugs will be going.
No, it had to do with the AI of the picking system.
It was, and honestly, that's how I met the millwrights, because the millwrights were aware of that, they, you know, probably saw our public meeting, it was, John Montgomery reached out to me first. Took me to the Amazon warehouse in Fishkill, outside the area, but to show me, look what we've been involved in, and that's what made me aware, that's why I reached out to him right away. But it's gotta be a fit still,
And
we
just,
tried.
and just so you know, that it's the wage that, the new wage that came in, the wage that's half was emailed on March 6th, back, to say this is the new wage.
Okay, well, at this point, I just would like to take a motion, and move this forward, because we do have another matter on the table for today. So, would someone like to make a motion to approve this waiver,
Or not to
or,
approve the waiver.
or to deny it?
I'll make a motion to deny it.
Okay, do I have a second? Hearing no second? The motion is denied. Can I have a motion to approve this waiver?
I will make that motion.
I will second that motion.
Do you want further discussion, or do you think we've had enough discussion?
I think we have discussed this
Nothing's
pretty
changed.
much round table all the way. Can I have a vote?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Majority does carry, the motion is passed. Okay, we do have.
No one gets to leave, I don't think, because we're still.
No, we still have a second.
Halfway there.
Second waiver, I just gotta get further back in my packet.
We'll have a cookie right here.
Yeah, please.
It's a big one. Apologies to the public watching.
47,
Thank
your
you.
packet, sorry, I just got to it.
That's okay. No, actually, it's 46. The refrigerated panels,
Okay,
it's a request.
oh yes, starts with the letter, sorry.
Yes, it's a request to use non-local labor for the installation of continuous line insulated panels being installed at 40+ foot height and critical vapor barriers with experience in aluminum T system ceiling panels must be manufactured in. Pearlie Halliday will also award a warranty if the installation is performed by certified installers. So these look to be some massive, massive size refrigeration panels. At this moment, I would like to open up this with comment, and I would ask that the first comment be from Loki Brill on behalf of
Sure.
Royal Wines.
Yes, so, hopefully this one's a little bit easier. The, Royal Wines did go out to bid to several different companies, including several local contractors, that are capable of doing the work. Pearlie Halliday was a much lower price, to perform the installation along with provide the warranty on it. We did again bring in, the Bellenzers to, talk through this and see if there were other options. They provided some additional local contractors to contact. Royal Wine made contact with those contractors and, essentially, I believe, they all declined to bid this project. So we've pretty well at this point exhausted all of the local installers. And so the Pearlie Halliday price is still significantly lower than anyone local to perform the work. So this is more along the lines of a price point waiver.
Okay, and if the Felsters have any comments on this?
Yeah, a little more discussion on it. So I think, again, we're into three kind of different areas. One is warranty and who's certified and trained to do
Okay.
such work. I think, Jim is missing a couple of the items or information, just so we'll be clear, is that one of the bidders, who was local, was the low bidder on the job. However, he was deemed unqualified to do the work,
And
right?
his price was not also submitted in your packet.
Right, so we were able to talk to,
Joe Perez.
Joe Perez.
Paramount.
Paramount, who provided a price,
Excuse me a second
Yeah.
before you continue.
Yeah.
Why was the low bid thrown out?
so there, in the pack, there's information, so that company was deemed to not be qualified to do the installation and meet the criteria for the qualification.
And I don't know if the qualification was directly from Royal Wine or if it was from Fraser themselves. So
Not for
not Fraser, I'm sorry. From-
Pearlie Halliday.
Yeah, Pearlie.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So I think before we go on, we should maybe have a discussion about that, just because that was not what was stated by
Okay.
right now. So, and I'm fine, I'm not against pre-qualifying, but usually my experience, you pre-qualify bidders
Before you,
before you go and ask them to go through the trouble of bidding a job,
right,
right? You pre-qualify, you get their qualifications. If they are qualified to bid on the work, you allow them to bid on it, right? If they're not qualified to do the work, you don't allow them to bid on it, right?
you don't waste
Because-
your time.
Right, or their time, right, so,
Can I
so
ask
maybe,
if those other two are qualified then?
yeah, so, just so we're clear, the other bidders
Which
from
is
Orange County
Michael and
or in the
Sons.
area, Michael and Sons,
And our walk-in cooler, I believe, or something like that, walk-in,
were the other bidders qualified? Was anyone else deemed unqualified to bid the job?
Yeah, I believe everybody else was qualified.
Okay. And,
Do you have that criteria handy, Mark,
which one?
to say the qualifications criteria?
Well, they just said on their packet that they gave, they listed all the names, it's in the back behind all the drawings. Great.
I think in an earlier conversation you read off to me.
yeah, there is a listing of,
Yes,
in the
they
packet
said it,
of
yeah.
what they
Yeah,
require.
we don't have to
the
dance around,
qualifications
if we're talking about
Yeah, yeah,
a
no,
contractor,
no.
they don't need
Yeah,
that, no.
There you go. So this is the,
Right, so we have, they provide the summary of pricing, and then the bidders, and some of which we gave them the names, we worked through our local, associations and all, including Baxter, CCI,
Penland.
well, we provide information on, Penland, I don't know if we provided or they had it, but,
Paramount wasn't
NSD.
even actually on this to deem they weren't qualified. Cause I guess you just left everyone off that wasn't qualified, I guess, and just gave the ones that denied and gave a quote.
So, yeah, so, right, Paramount, so the information we have, and so why don't you fill us in on, who deemed them unqualified and the reasoning?
So, it was a combination of Early Holiday not being able to warranty the work, so similar to the last discussion, and also, the gentleman who was the low bidder had never performed a freezer job ever before, so.
I believe it was freezer
that
of that size, cause he has done freezers, just not to that magnitude. So I did talk to
Right,
him.
and any, like, even this, with these monster industrial freezers, even the slightest, install issue causes leakage, and then the system, like, the full system doesn't work. And I wanna be clear on one thing too, in that, all of the mechanical systems going into this, freezer box are to be by local labor. It's really just the box itself that we're looking for exemption on, which is an airtight, vapor-tight barrier that's a complicated install. And I believe, if the gentleman who was the low bidder understood, the magnitude of that, I think it would ultimately end up being reflective in his pricing, so I don't think that price is as well thought out as it ought to be, as you can see from the other local prices we've received today.
But what you're saying is,
Issue
just to be clear, is it really doesn't matter because he was deemed unqualified. It didn't matter what his price was gonna be, right?
Right, and he's never done one this size before, and,
Okay.
similar.
Understand.
Can't-
So,
It will be guaranteed, et
right,
cetera.
so the other questions we have, since MSEI Equities and Walk-in Cooler Warehouse were both deemed qualified, the other bidders that were more costly?
The more expensive ones that are like double the price of Pearly,
Yes.
yes, we're qualified.
Okay. So our question is, did you, MSEI was the number 2 bidder, qualified, right? Did you go back, we weren't clear, did you go back to them and try to negotiate them into the 20% above Pearly Holiday range?
I'll find out, give you two more.
Sure, yeah, no problem. So that's really our only other question. So 1, they're qualified or not. 2, have,
Did they make
all,
all the best effort?
have best effort been done to work with
Yeah, without obviously giving them
MSEI?
the explicit price, right? Like, your question is, did we essentially go back to them and say, hey, you're outside of 20%, we need you to get, a lot closer.
Yeah, and look I realize it's an awkward thing in bidding, but I always think, with a labor incentive and labor agreement that's stated the way it is, I think at some point, and it should be, you guys doing it privately. At some point,
Yeah, gotta cut.
at some point, you have to go back to the number 2 bidder and say, you know, or the lowest local bidder and say, hey, if you can do it for this number, you got the job. I mean, however you get to
Yeah,
that
so-
point, but, you know.
I mean, so, apologies, I'm texting the project manager who's running that bidding as we speak, and, the word I'm hearing back is we did not go back to them, and the reasoning is, you know, they were 200% the price of the,
So it's a snowball bid.
early holiday bid, so.
Okay, well, I mean,
If they're gonna drop their number, you know, 100% of where, 50% of where it is now, I can't imagine a contractor who would be willing to do that.
alright, so I don't necessarily disagree that someone may not drop the number that much. I don't know who MSEI Equities is specifically and where their labor comes from. I don't know if there's any incentives offered by, if they happen to be union. We don't know any of that. We know the requirement is to make effort to do it. I realize that they are, it's really, you know, it's 257 versus 487, so it's significant. But I think the requirement is to go back and make that verification that, you know, they're not gonna drop a dime, they're gonna drop 50,000, which still puts them outside the range significantly.
Or
I
if we can
think
get
that's
help.
all you need to provide to, I think, to
Documentation.
show that you know, I think you certainly went to a good number of, you know, you went to the bidders we asked you to go to,
Yep.
you know, the ones that we found that we knew that could handle a project of this size, so, you know, I commend you on that. You were responsive to do that. Baxter, CCI, Penland, you know, you did go out to them. And we have copies of the emails where things were declined, so that's all fine. I think, and I don't disagree, the likelihood of someone that's 487 going down to, it would be just around $300,000. My calculations are correct, that would get you within the 20%. You know, it's unlikely, but I think that's the one
worth a
little
call.
piece that,
It merits that.
It's worth a call.
it's just, you know,
Yeah,
like,
okay.
I don't know.
I could start, you know, our typical bid process, just to lay that out, is, you know, we'll go out to cast a wide net, right? And to the top 2-3 bidders, given that they're close to one another, we'll give another, we'll, you know, rattle the cage, see if we can get, you know, the higher guys down to where we think it ought to be. And with regards to this particular bid, it falls more into the category of, we casted a wide net, and it wasn't even close. So at that point, you kind of pencils down, you know, we're not going to get a number that's close to Pearly Holiday. So I'm happy to, you know, I think we're happy to revisit that conversation with them. I don't think it's gonna go much of anywhere, but it's just my 2 cents. I guess my question would be, you know, what would be the timing that you'd be looking for here? Again, similarly, it's just a time crunch situation. So, like, when are you folks meeting again? How long would we be giving him to tighten up his number and sharpen his pencil?
We don't have a set schedule.
We don't, we'd have to just call this meeting again.
If
If
we,
I can, let me just, I mean, I just wanna add one thing, so on the last 2 pages of the waiver request, there's a price from, Michael and Sons on January 10th, and then there's a revised price on January 23rd. And the revised price is the lower price, it's $437,184 plus $50,000 for the lift equipment. And so there was already discussions with them about tightening up the scope and revisiting the number. I don't know what the extent of the discussions were, but the fact that we have 2 prices, one from bid day and one from a couple weeks afterwards, would certainly indicate that a discussion's already been had.
Yeah, and further, just on that point,
Yeah, I see that, Jim, and just to be
Yeah.
clear, it says one is labor and materials, that's the first price, and the second price was labor,
Yes.
so.
So somewhere
there-
along the line, somebody talked to them about remove the materials and then reprice and.
Right, so there was, you did go out twice, all I'm asking is that you confirm that
They can't do
They-
anything or have
they-
incentives.
won't do enough to make it within the 20%, that's all.
They could just be money hungry.
How far away
So
were they
again,
in the second one, do we know?
Similarly, like with the rest of this project, the
150,000,
scope is set to start
200,000.
2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of, local folks that are eager to get started on the mechanical, install that will follow directly behind this. So, if there's any way we can close this today, given how large and significant the gap is in cost, we'd be greatly appreciative.
Well, I'm gonna defer
Is there
that
a way
to
to,
comment. I want
is
my,
there a way to do a provisional approval or a provisional motion based on, receiving this information within a short period of time?
I'd like my board to weigh in first, before we come to any kind of decision or conclusion. I'd also like the union, if you'd like to pass comment.
I can't comment on this because I don't know the scope of the work, nor is it my jurisdiction.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
but-
brought in on this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to give him the opportunity. He's here.
If I could say one thing, moving forward, I would love to develop a relationship with Royal Wine and Fraser, and this might be more of a question for Royal Wine or Kadim. This is only half of this job. It's the storage part of this job and the machines that pick the stuff off the racks to get shipped out on the trucks. There's a full production side. If there's any training or any certifications that local people might need for that side of the project, those conversations should probably start to happen. Because we don't want to get to the 9th inning then and have the same discussions, because that's a massive project, the actual production side of the job where they're making the wine and the juice. So, this way we don't get into the same situation. And anything that I could do to help out with that, I'm very in tune with our training here in New York City and on an international level. We have a huge, over 1 million square feet on the roof training facility in Las Vegas, Nevada, that people from Canada and the United States get trained at in this kind of work. Millions and millions and millions of dollars go into our training every year. So please, moving forward, I'll give my information to the IDA board, and I'm sure some of you guys over at Royal Wine and Fraser have my information already. Please reach out to me.
If this could be a catalyst, even this discussion,
Yes.
to be able to, yeah, exactly, because I'll use another example. Well, I'll use another example is the steel erection. That was the first waiver that Royal Wine received because it's nearly 700,000 square foot building. And I know thanks to, Fellenser went back and forth trying to, talk to locals. No one had done anything of that scope. And that's because I assume, Medline, well, they were chased away from the IDA, so there's no waiver. They did that out of area right away. But any of these others, they're all getting waivers. How do we work against it? How do we get people ready so that the next one is here, But again, it's not Royal Wine's responsibility, but if there's a way we could, again, by getting these folks together around the table, we can figure that out.
Start a conversation.
Exactly.
So, I'd like input from
Real
board.
quick, I just wanna follow up on that. I will be disappointed if that conversation doesn't happen. Because we can't have a scenario where you're locked out, you're not qualified, but you're not trained enough, and you can't get training, and you can't, so it can't be that way.
Not to speak out of term, but I've been in the union for 20 years. I got in when I was 17 years old, and I'm third generation, and I've been a Hudson Valley resident for a long time, and I've been on my executive board for 12 years, and I've been in these conversations for a long time. I'm new to this job. I'm only 6 months as a business agent for the union. But I've sat at the table with a lot of other business agents from my union and from other unions, and we've reached out to companies, whether it was Gould's Pump or different companies like Fraser. I think we've reached out to Fraser in the past. They've been working in this area for 20 plus years. They don't provide the training to local people. They don't provide the training to the union members. It's a proprietary training that they're gonna use with their crew of guys that travel around the country all the time with them.
And that's on this pallet mold, this really specific technology, of course, but.
We installed a very similar system right across the river in Dutchess County. It's nothing, it's just,
I don't doubt that you have, I can't look at you in the eye and say, you guys can't do what they do. I mean, there's no doubt about that, right? But it does come down to, as a business owner.
of course, we can't warranty it. I
Exactly.
understand that.
If you can't warranty, then.
All right.
So, I hear what you're saying, but, real quick, that saddens me to hear. And then, you know, but maybe it's not all or nothing. Is there a way to at least start pecking away? To start, you know, at least saying, hey, you know, maybe going forward, we have to have at least 2 people on site, you know, going forward, or something along those lines to get in the door.
Yes, I agree with that, and that's what I'm hoping for today, and that's why I just wanted to say that last thing. Moving forward with the rest of this project, where they're actually making the product, if we could look at that with some timeline, some horizon.
I agree 100% with that.
And last thing, Paul, I hope you know that I'll make any connection I possibly can,
Yes,
so.
you've been
please,
great.
I'm here for that.
Thank you.
All right, so can we get back to the discussion regarding this waiver that's asked? Our consultants have recommended that the applicant go back to the other 2 estimates and see if they can sharpen their pencils to be more in line with the 20%. And I'd like to know your thoughts on that, gentlemen?
Again, my thoughts are how we disqualify some for the local people who have built so much stuff around the area. If you can't, if you need 5 years of installing refrigeration, I mean, how do you get to that point? I mean, they're reaching out, they're trying to work with they want to be part of, I spoke to them, they want to be part of the project. I mean, and even in Penland, he keeps asking for this. We've been asking for a while for shop drawings and information regarding the refrigeration panels and trims. That was only in the March 8th. So I just again, I think we could have did a better effort to get more local people bidding and getting them qualified again. I mean, we have a company that you're saying is not qualified, and they built an entire water park. I mean, how does a local guy get that then? How do they get to that point? I mean,
There's a
will
big
we ever?
difference with a water park and an industrial freezer,
Well, you said it had to be watertight, but the thing is that, how do we get to that point? You know what I mean? How do we bridge this instead of, how do we get to that point?
Those are my questions too. I'm
I
trying
mean,
to figure out how
there has to
we're
be
better
a
at
way.
this. How would be better.
There's gotta be a way.
But Dean,
I don't think we're working together to get this stuff done. That's my point.
well, Dean, my argument to that is
We're in.
that 94% of labor is coming from our community. You don't get to have everything all the time.
No, no. You're misunderstanding it. But this is I believe that we have local people that can do all of this work. I'm confident, but they need an opportunity. They need that. Somehow we have to bridge that. And again, I just already told you, I think Royal Wines is doing a great job with it, but I think we could have done this. I think we could have done it, and I think we could have done it, and we think we knew what we were up against prior to several months ago, and we could have ironed this out. And I really believe that. But you do that, but it's working people that are missing out on opportunities they shouldn't be missing out on, and we're to build the workforce for the next project that we're looking to build.
Dean,
But what is your thought about that?
Yeah, but we, frankly, this guy's trying to build a business.
100%.
And we've said to him, no, you have to go local, you have to go, and so he jumped through the hoops, he did everything he was supposed to do. They came back with prices that were twice as much. I mean, whose responsibility is that? That's not his responsibility.
I still believe that the other contractors can do it. I think this other contractor, if he, what I see in this email, that he just was like, he's looking for, what is included, what isn't included. I spoke to the one contractor, he didn't think he included the lift or something, and then he didn't even know that, I don't think it was another conversation with the PBC contractor to say, are you qualified or aren't, and why? What are you missing something?
The
Aren't you
panels in
missing
this
something?
freezer are larger than the
I-
building panels
I-
themselves. They're humongous panels, right? And it needs to be perfectly vapor tight, and there can be no install issues at all, or else the whole system fails and the investment goes down the tubes. So,
And I will say, I called PBC myself.
But here's my question, Dean.
Go ahead.
If I think you're honing in on the one that was disqualified, is that true?
Yes,
Right? You're the one who disqualified.
PBC.
Well, if I'm a business owner, that raises serious red flags to me, that if the others came in at twice the price and they're qualified, and this guy comes in at much less, and that to me screams that he didn't understand what's going on. And if that's the case, that's the last guy I want working on my building.
No, but again, I mean, you're talking about a contractor who does a lot of work throughout, and complex work, a lot of complex work. It's in all their information. Maybe he didn't, maybe he thought that they were gonna take the lift, or not include this, or not include that. I mean, but there was no conversation, none.
But then how come the others did?
I don't know, I guess that's the question.
I will tell you, I called PVC myself, because I do know the owner, Joe Perez, so I wanted to understand this myself, and he did say, he talked about the work he's done at the Cartwright, and the owner of PVC, I'm saying, I spoke with directly, and he did say he felt his crew could take about a week to get it and figure it out, and then that they would be able to do after.
And
That's what
to
he told me.
certify-
You're not putting in millions of dollars for a guy to figure it out.
Okay, do you see the work that this guy has done? You were saying.
I mean, that's what he told me directly, though. He did say, my crew needs a week to figure it out.
And what is the training requirement?
From
So
my
just
research,
similarly,
it's
like,
1 day, 8 hours.
This
1 day, 8
question
hours.
It just goes back to warranty, guys, right? Cost is one thing, and warranty is a whole other. We're putting in a couple $1 million system. If it fails, who's gonna cover that? Something tells me a gentleman who hasn't ever installed one won't be covering it, right? That's the issue. That's the other issue that brings here.
So if I could chime in, I don't think it's the obligation of us to make sure that bids are put out and clearly understood what the scope of the work is. I think it's up to the person who's submitting the work to make sure the bid, that they fully understand the scope. You know, if you're gonna put in a bid, I need to know, what am I bidding on? You know, if I go to buy a car, I need to know what's included in that price. So I don't think the burden falls on us. I think the burden falls on the bid process. What we're here today is we have one price that's come in, we have two other that have come in. There is a large disparity. I can say moving forward with this, I would rather come back together in 2 weeks, ask the applicant to go back to these two other bids and ask them, can they sharpen their pencil, and reconvene. Once we've known that, yes, every attempt has been made to get that pencil sharpened and get within that 20%, we can make an educated decision on whether to grant the waiver or not. And that's just my thought process.
Good. I guess my ask would be to expedite this process as quickly as humanly possible. Again, we've worked with the Fellingers tirelessly to get this bid package on the street. All bidders received the same package. Bids were collected and qualified. The closest bidder again has had a chance to rebid it already, and is 100% higher than Early Holiday is. Even if he brings his price down 25%, which would be all of his fee and overhead and then some, he's not going to fall in line with where Early Holiday is. He won't be even within 20% of where Early Holiday is. So I guess my point is, we're looking to install these panels in 2 weeks' time. A lot of coordination and work goes into that process, as you guys very well know. So anything that we can do to expedite approval, or at least provide some form of conditional approval on what that pricing comes back as would be greatly appreciated from the Royal Wine side of things.
I don't know if we can give conditional approval as a board, because we are a public entity.
If you're gonna,
Nothing in the
and I'm
policy
going to
book.
say, I disagree with this, but if you're gonna go down that path, then I don't think you can do a conditional.
We
It's
can't,
either yes or
we
no.
can't, only because of our accountability to the public. I understand construction project, I've worked in construction, everything runs, tight on it. I'm just
Right.
saying, we need to make sure 100%, without any doubt in anybody's mind, that we have done our highest due diligence.
Will it take 2 weeks? Will it take 2 days?
We can reconvene
That's kind of what
rather
I'm getting at.
quickly.
I think if we give them a deadline of, say, middle of next week or end of next week, and, see what they come back with, that, anything, again, I'm just hat in hand here, anything we can do to expedite the process as much as possible would be greatly appreciated.
It's just gonna rely on the coordination between them.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
we can
basically
reconvene,
balls
and
in your
depending
court.
on our schedules, really within 3 to 4 days' notice. Agreed? Depending on schedules.
Yeah, I'm kinda fast and loose with my schedule.
If I was away.
So,
I'd
and just to be,
zoom in
to be fair to
Not
both
vote.
parties, right, I think we will
I'm not
also,
here next week.
if we're gonna go back to the closest bidder, we'll also go back to, early holiday as well, and allow them a chance to rebid too.
Well, no, you should go to all of it, and we need it in writing,
Yeah.
so we know, we can sit there and show the public that, here it is in writing,
Gotta be
everybody was given
documented.
the equal opportunity, so we had the opportunity to make sure we were making the best decision.
I will say we're more than a week out because Dean is away next week, so the earliest we could technically do it, I think, is Monday the 6th.
Yeah, I can do the 6th, I am away the 8th through the 11th. We're trying to get schedules here.
Monday the 6th would be greatly appreciated if
Well,
we
you
can
have
get
to
that
see
one.
what, I have other board members here.
Make a motion.
And from our end of things, we'll get the email out today with the deadline being end of next week for resubmission of bid.
Unless one of you gentlemen would to approve or deny this today, I feel that that's the best course of action.
Well, I'll make the motion, I make the motion to approve this.
Okay?
I think, they've jumped through the hoops, they've done, that we have local people waiting on this to get done, so we're penalizing the people we are supposedly caring about, the local people, are sitting here waiting for this to get done, so they can work. I say we move forward, I make a motion to move forward.
So we have a motion to move forward with the waiver as it presented today. Do I have a second on that? I will second it, however, I will also leave it open for discussion. I will open the floor for discussion on it. Any discussion?
Give me a second.
I just, again, we're saying this system was, I don't know when they purchased it, but I have a local contractor who specifically told me he wanted to be involved, and not 6 weeks ago, I've been asking, the email, it's in the packet, I've been asking for shop drawings and materials from manufacturers, what's being supplied, et cetera. So I just, we say, they made their best effort, et cetera. I don't know. I just think we could do a better job knowing what's coming up and getting it out there. And again, having people, like the fellows have said, bid work that they're not qualified for.
Well, yeah, but
So, go ahead.
that they did bid, and that's the whole
He just-
point of a bid, and so these guys came in at almost twice as high.
I understand, I saw it.
So why bid if we're not gonna,
No, I'm talking about there's another contractor that was, we're saying there were time constraint, it says right here, it's March 8th, he said, I've been asking for the drawings, and he told me he wanted to be involved with the project, but it just became a time frame for him.
so you're
why
saying he
is
didn't
it?
bid at all?
Not correct.
Yeah.
He's one that's denied bid.
He declined it.
Well, he denied, but he didn't, you had written that, but he didn't say that he
We didn't
denied
write
it.
it.
Yeah.
They
You know,
wrote it.
Well,
that's what I'm saying, I mean, he didn't even write the email, I mean.
He did speak to, I believe he's still with Scott, right? Yeah, Scott said he was like,
He
I'm
said,
just
listen,
gonna.
all these projects,
he was
I
a little
wanna
fed
be
up.
involved, I wanna be involved as much as I possibly can. And when we're talking about time frames and stuff, I mean, I again, not anything crazy, but you knew this refrigerator system was gonna go in for who knows how long. And now it's, March 8th, he's waiting for shop drawings, according to their own documents. I
Matt,
just,
can we
again,
ask you what
I mean,
your
I don't- I
conversation
don't-
was with this
And
contractor?
I understand what you're saying, but I don't wanna hold anybody up, I really don't. You know, and I want it to be local, I just believe that we have the local workforce to do all of this. And we're having a disconnect somewhere, and we shouldn't be here at the last, you know, waiting, saying that we have to get this done, because then it puts pressure on us. I don't wanna hold the project up. Believe me, I don't wanna hold the project up.
Yeah,
It's been a great project for local people, 100%. But we're not, we're not completely following up on this stuff. And if anybody can say that we are, I would have to say I disagree with you.
I would say one caveat would be to the applicant to satisfy our records and our public, is that you did make every attempt with the other two candidates, that this was their best practice. So this is in our files, again, because we are under that public scrutiny, and we know that you did your best to try and reach out to local companies to get this done.
I don't, like, would this open up a door now, so you have a week, can you reach out? So I did some research on the website, and it said a certification of some sort, hands-on certification. It's a 1-day, 8-hour certification for specifically this. I think it's called All Weather Insulated Panels is the company they're getting it from. That's the manufacturer, and they offer it. Is it something to reach out and say?
Can you clarify what you're asking?
Would it be, so for PCB, for Paramount, that bid, his bid came in, what, 20, 30 grand lower? Even if he filled that gap, or, you know, a little bit of
Yeah,
going to get
but
certified.
We're not talking through the fact that we can't warranty it at that point, right?
But you might be able to if he's gonna be
And
certified,
he's
no?
never installed one of these before, so I don't necessarily want, you know, our multi-million-dollar freezer to be his first ever industrial freezer project.
It's understandable.
I don't
Yeah.
I was just saying, I didn't know if it opened up the door for that.
Can I
you
ask
know?
again, do you have that criteria in front of you?
It's on their website, it's,
Did you-
You're asking for the bid criteria.
Yes,
Yes,
can you-
it's here.
Can you read that for the qualifications, I'm
oh, the
saying?
qualifications, I guess.
That piece, you read it to me
Yes,
in
on
earlier
your
time.
phone, yeah.
I have
So
to
people
read.
can hear,
It's in the, yeah. It's in
you can
the-
see how far off any of these contractors may be.
Well, it's only one. We asked that, so everyone else has been.
Yeah, everyone else is
qualified.
deemed qualified
Right,
in the.
Well,
base.
except, I don't know about the ones that declined, but obviously the ones that are,
Yeah, it's back there.
They
somewhere.
went through
there it
this
is,
and they were.
5 years, I'll do it in short, but minimum 5 years experience working with continuous line insulated panels. 2, experience with critical vapor barrier details at wall, ceilings, and floors. 3, installed panels at 40 feet and higher. 4, installed ceiling panels with aluminum T systems, that's a support system. 5, work with pneumatic lifting devices attached to forklifts. 6, minimum OSHA 10 hours for all workers and OSHA certification for all lift equipment and forklifts. 7, start date, and so that's really a start, and experience in handling 8,000 pound loads, 40 by 4 foot by 45 foot long. And I don't know that it's a experience issue, but 6-man crew, 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days per week. That's-
And that went out with
That's
our
the
bid
list.
package,
so.
and the gentleman who bid it
Yeah.
and was the low bidder, still submitted a bid even after reading that, although knowing he did not fall, into that criteria.
With or without the 1-day, 8-hour training, he wouldn't be qualified.
Right.
Given this, I'm just,
Yeah, that's
which was
correct.
news to me when we talked,
Correct.
whatever
That's
that was,
correct.
but.
Yeah.
Just wanted to put it out there, you know, just.
So we have a motion, we've had discussion. Is there any further discussion? Can I have a vote, please, on the motion on the floor to accept the waiver as presented with a caveat? Well, no, you have to change, you have to adjust your motion.
I didn't do the caveat.
I'm asking, will you adjust your motion to include a caveat?
For what?
That they supply us in writing that they have reached out to the other two companies and made sure that this is their best bid.
I can't do that, because what if they come back $5 lower, then we're doing
No, not
something
for them
that-
to go out again, to say in writing, the applicant, that they have already done this. They've stated in this meeting that they have done that already. We would like something
with
in
royal
writing for the
coverage.
file.
I understand that, but we have the physical bids, don't we? Like, I don't understand why,
This
there is a bid and a revised bid already in hand.
so us going back to the companies, what if the companies say no? Then
I'm
what
not
do we do?
asking them to go back, they're stating that they have gone back. I
Just give us a
want
statement, a written statement.
from them that they
Coverage.
have done that.
Fine, then I will acquiesce. Then, yes, I make a motion to approve this with the condition that we get in writing that, that these are the best prices that could have been gotten.
Thank you. Second?
I don't see an issue with that, for the record.
Okay. Second?
No.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Motion does carry by majority. Thank you.
Can I ask one last question before we go? Do you see any, and I think Felonzer has asked for this on the Royal project, do you see any waivers ahead, when you're looking ahead? Because we've been asked, what, to get a sense of the rest of this.
Bill, we're gonna do, we're gonna take a good hard look at that internally, both with the developer team and the Royal team. And we will, certainly get back to you to avoid having to come back for, waivers that we could have, done a better job helping get, training set up, et cetera. We hear you loud and clear, on that front, and we wanna work with you there, just like we've been working with you this whole project, so.
Okay, great.
Can we,
Thank
can we get a hold of Bob's, and see what he's doing with his, labor force?
Right?
Contact him.
Bob Lutz,
Bob's installation
Yeah,
for the
that's-
racking, that you said is gonna be local.
Bob's Commercial Warehouse?
But that's not the
yes,
Bell owner's
certainly,
Bell.
Yes, the
That-
other racking, I don't
we'll
have.
work with you on that front.
Okay.
I just want to thank I want to thank the IDA and everyone for your time, and the Fellingers, everyone, really appreciate it.
Thanks,
You
Will.
as well.
You guys have been good to work with, thanks, let's keep it
Okay.
going.
Thank you.
I would like to make a comment.
Okay,
We are in the process of looking at our,
Uniform tax exemption
UTEP.
policy? Yeah.
I think we need to have, we've been very focused on certain things.
Industry sectors and things like that.
Sectors, what we think would be best. I think this conversation, as heated as it is, you know how much I respect and appreciate and-
Same here.
and everything.
I don't, nothing
And
personal.
I'm sorry it didn't go your way on this one. But it brought up a very fact of the matter. We are in a, if you can't do the work, you can't get the experience. If you don't have the experience, you're not gonna get the next job.
catch 22.
It's an age-old catch-22.
So I think what we have to do going forward is, we have to put in our UTEP when we're discussing, something along the line that if, and we can't do it now, we can't penalize these people now, but
Yep.
we have to put in there something, we have to come up with a solution that says, and I'm making this up.
Yes.
I'm just trying to give an example, that
Yep.
if a lower price comes in, that somehow we create something,
Training opportunity.
a training opportunity for our unions, our local unions to get in there.
Our
Or
local
workforce,
traders,
it doesn't have to
Workforce,
necessarily be
correct.
union, no
Yeah,
offense.
yeah,
I understand that.
but something along those lines that allows our people to get the experience.
Our
So
local
that,
six-county pool.
because Dean's point is dead on. If you don't work, you don't get the experience, no experience. So now, yeah, okay, I get it, this job, we can't do it. But what about the next job? And so are we gonna sit here 5 years from now? And
Mark,
still have-
Mark, I had the same discussion before we arrived with Bill, saying that we need some sort of check-off list, that we catch all this stuff well prior to we sitting here and trying to hold a project up, and we can take care of this.
Yeah, but even that though, I'm talking about being even more proactive. I'm saying, let's get our people involved.
I agree 100%. However, if you're gonna say that this is, so exclusive, you'll never be able to, these guys are trained for whatever, it would have to be that specific
Well,
thing,
that's it.
unfortunately.
Fair enough,
Right,
but
that's
then,
all.
but the argument on that is that if it's so specific, that I'm only gonna bring my guys in because it's so specific. My point is that, okay, well, it won't eliminate every single thing that comes down the pipe, but maybe if we can increase it 10%, or something along those
No,
lines.
I would love to do that, but like I said, our guys, as it is now, we do 20-some thousand hours of training a year at our facility. And, you know, I would love for everybody to come down and see what we do. I can't say that we're gonna have that specific, because it's so specific.
I understand that, and as I said to you, there is no doubt in my mind
So,
that, what, you telling me our guys can't go do that? Of course they can. But there's a, as you've said many times in our discussions, there's a disconnect. And we have to at least, maybe we can't make it zero, Dean, but even if we're getting a little closer, then I think it's up to us to at least try to come up with ideas to make that happen.
Exactly, we have to know what it's coming down the road. We can't have 3 months to figure all this out.
I just,
You can jig your head all you want. This thing, they knew this thing was going in a year ago.
More than that, probably.
Maybe 3 years ago.
And you know what? Sheldon Ginsburg
3
brought it
years
up to me well over a year ago. So
3
he
years
did raise
ago.
it, saying this is something we're gonna, as
What
we
we
get
do,
closer.
as you know, one of the
3
things
years
we
ago.
brought in is early on, we design 300 projects a year, right? Do you know very early on what all your divisions of work are gonna be, right?
correct.
And you know about how much each division is going to cost, otherwise you can't build the building, right? If you don't know, ceilings, walls, lighting, whatever it is,
Budgets.
Well, in
mold
the scope of
systems,
design
right?
for these
So-
projects.
Right, so we're always frustrated that we don't get a schedule of values early on for the sole purpose of figuring out how much labor is, right? Labor is still, all you go through this, it's about half materials, half labor. It's, it seems to be, and every little thing is different, but, so if I know there's, something's $2 million worth of work in a building, I can pretty much tell you $1 million of it's labor, right? And $1 million is, materials and stuff like that. But it's, the point of getting it early on from people, contractors and all, is to get them thinking about what's coming, like it's planning. They're supposed to be planning. We're not making them plan, they're coming in. But our goal here is working with the IDA to help companies meet their obligation, which they sign an agreement to very willingly, right? So it's not anything surprise, they sign it, as we often say to them, you sign the agreement, and we're here to try to help you find contractors, to try to, help you reach out, you're from outside the area. So I think that's, to get that early on, to get the discussion early on going, and I think I agree with you, Mark, the training, so we've noticed the theme in 3 waivers that we've been involved in.
All 3 of them.
And all 3 of them, factory warranty. And interestingly enough, all 3 of them are not factory employees doing the work, by the way.
They're all subs.
So, it's very, the theme is factory training, and, and that's where something that I agree with all the training that the unions do, and I know they fund training, a part of what they get paid goes into a training pool. That could be something where the unions have a advantage over, say, non-union companies, because they put away and they do the training, where proactive communication can be, 8 months ago, what do we have to do to get some of our local people factory trained, because we understand this system, whatever the system is, mold, panels, steel building, it's something special. What do we have to do so that you're comfortable as a factory, that the workers involved, the workers, not necessarily the subcontractor doing, but the workers are trained enough that you're comfortable with warranties? And I think that that's a good question to ask early on. And I'd be interesting, is the answer, only our crews
I
from
think
other
that's
subs,
something-
or is it
That
something?
is the answer,
What's
and
the
we've been
challenge?
communicating with Frazier for probably, do you remember a guy named Bob Seeger, used to be our local business manager, for 20 years, 20 plus years. These companies are gonna only train the people that they employ, they are not gonna go outside of that realm to train. Because then what happens if they train 5 of my union guys, and then when they come into town, those 5 guys are on a different project? It's not in their best interest to train us.
I understand that.
And it doesn't make financial sense. And then, like, for the exemptions, and I'm not talking about Orange County right now, I'm having an issue at the Dodge Mopar plant being built in East Fishkill. Swiss Log, who manufactures a very similar system, was gonna do the install, and they just subbed it out to a subcontractor. Doesn't even work for the company that's installing the stuff. at the Frito-Lay. They got an exemption for the panels because they were color-coded. So unless every iron worker in Dutchess County is colorblind, there should not been an exemption given for that.
I understand, what you're saying to me is the problem, I get it, I understand what the problems are, at least I understand enough. What I'm trying to say is, I'm committing to you to try to figure out at least some solutions. Not, it won't be 100%. But if we come up with something that says, if people want to apply and get the benefit of working with us, then in turn, we need to figure out a better way. Again, I'm not saying that we're going to 100% have to say you have to do every single thing, but
No.
you have to involve our people. Because
That's it.
something along those lines.
That's exactly the
So-
point, that's
Yeah.
exactly the point.
Perfect
Yeah.
example of
Exactly.
what I said today, if we could get some kind of
Exactly.
detail on the manufacturing side of Royal Wine, because
And
they
that's-
already know who's building that equipment.
And that's why I said 100%. I would like to hear what the result of that is.
There's probably an 18-month, 2-year lead time on the manufacturing of that equipment.
Mark, that's something we need to look at in our governance
100%.
committee. It's outside the scope of this committee for it. I do want to, though, wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank our consultant and everybody still out there in Zoom land. I would, however, at this time, like to have a motion to adjourn.
No?
I mean, come on.
I'm
You
against
don't wanna
that,
see
I'm
this
against
end?
that.
Second.
Motion.
Can I have a
One guy doesn't
second?
wanna see this end?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. If audio
We're
can
done.
tell us one more
Thank you,
now?
guys.